The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wider than most planets. Thousands of species gathered under the dome of stars, their voices creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and words in hundreds of languages. Ambassador Vrelix stood among them, his 6 legs trembling with excitement. Today was special. Today his people would finally join the great community of worlds. High Arbiter Thomon rose from the central platform. The ancient being's crystalline body caught the light from distant suns, casting rainbows across the assembly. His voice echoed through every translator in the room. "We welcome the Ixthari people to our council," Thomon said. His voice carried the weight of 10,000 years. "You have proven yourselves worthy through peace and progress. But before you take your seat among us, you must learn the first law." Vrelix felt his excitement dim slightly. Every species knew about the first law, but few understood it. It was the great mystery of the galaxy. Thomon raised one crystalline arm and a holographic map appeared above them. The spiral galaxy rotated slowly, beautiful and vast, but one entire arm of the spiral glowed red. Warning symbols covered it like a disease. "This is the Sol Quarantine Zone," Thomon continued. "No ship may enter. No probe may cross its boundary. No signal may be sent into its depths. This law has stood for 847 years. It will stand forever." A young delegate from the Reptilian Confederacy stood up. Captain Zira Kelnoth was known for her boldness. "Honored Arbiter, my people have just joined this council. We ask the same question the Ixthari surely wonder. Why is an entire spiral arm forbidden to us? What danger hides there?" The chamber fell silent. Even the translation devices seemed to hold their breath. Thomon's body dimmed as if remembering something painful. There was a species called humans. They lived on a blue world called Earth in the Sol system. For a time they were our friends. They traded with us. They shared their art and music. They were curious and creative. Then something terrible happened. 7 species driven by greed conspired together. They wanted the human worlds for themselves. They attacked without warning. They burned Earth from orbit. Billions died in a single day. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Vrelix felt his stomach turn. Such barbarism was unthinkable in the modern galaxy. "But the humans did not die," Thomon said. And now his voice carried something that might have been fear. "They survived. And they changed." What emerged from the ashes was not the peaceful species we had known. It was something we had awakened. Something terrible. The hologram changed, showing ancient battle footage. Ships exploded. Stations crumbled. Entire fleets vanished into nothing. "They called it the Reckoning," Thomon whispered. "For 30 years humanity waged war across the galaxy. They developed weapons we still do not understand. They moved like ghosts through space. Species fell silent one after another. We begged for peace. We offered everything." "What did they want?" Vrelix asked, his voice small. "To be left alone," Thomon said simply. "They demanded absolute isolation. Every species signed the treaty. We built the warning buoys. We declared the quarantine. And humanity disappeared behind their boundary. We have not heard from them in over 8 centuries. Are they still there?" Captain Kelnoth asked. "We believe so," Thomon replied. "The warning systems still function. The boundary remains sealed. Whether they watch us or sleep, we do not know. We do not ask. We do not look. This is the first law and it keeps us all safe." The chamber erupted in discussion. Vrelix tried to imagine it. An entire species so powerful that the galaxy itself gave them whatever they wanted. It seemed like a myth, a story told to children. But as the meeting ended and delegates filed out, Vrelix noticed something. The older species, the ones who had been part of the council for centuries, they all moved a little faster when passing the holographic map. They all avoided looking at that red zone. They were still afraid. 3 days later, Captain Kelnoth stood on the bridge of her exploration vessel, the Wandering Star. They were mapping the outer regions of the galaxy, far from the major trade routes. It was routine work, boring but necessary. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "I'm detecting something strange." Kelnoth moved to his station. "What is it?" "A signal. Very faint. It's coming from—" The officer's face went pale. "It's coming from inside the Sol Quarantine Zone." The bridge went silent. Every crew member turned to look at their captain. Kelnoth stared at the data. It was definitely a distress signal. Old, repeating on automatic, but real. Someone or something was calling for help from inside the forbidden territory. "Captain, regulations are clear," her first officer said carefully. We cannot investigate. We must report this to the council and move on. Kelnoth thought about the stories. About the humans and their terrible weapons. About species that vanished in the night. She thought about 800 years of silence, but she also thought about that distress signal. What if someone was in trouble? What if the humans were gone? And this was all just ancient fear. Set a course for the boundary, she said quietly. Captain, I must protest. Your protest is noted, Kelnoth interrupted. But I'm not leaving someone to die because of an 800-year-old ghost story. We'll investigate carefully, just close enough to get a clear reading. The wandering star turned toward the forbidden zone. As they approached, they passed the warning buoys. Ancient machines older than most civilizations, they broadcast in every language. Turn back. Death awaits. This is your only warning. But Kelnoth did not turn back. The ship crossed the boundary and alarms began to blare throughout the vessel. Behind them, the warning buoy sent a signal into the depths of the galaxy. A signal that said someone had broken the first law. And deep within the Sol system, in places dark and silent for centuries, ancient machines began to wake. The wandering star drifted through a graveyard of giants. Captain Kelnoth pressed her face against the viewport, hardly believing what she saw. Massive structures floated in the darkness, each one larger than her entire city back home. Battle stations, she realized. Weapons platforms that could crack planets. These are human constructions? Her first officer whispered. Must be, Kelnoth replied. Nothing else could be this old and still intact. Dr. Zinpara, the ship's historian, was recording everything with trembling hands. His 4 eyes were wide with wonder. This is incredible. These designs are like nothing in our databases. The engineering is centuries ahead of anything we know. They're dormant, the tactical officer reported. No power signatures. No active systems. They're just floating. The distress signal was stronger now. It led them deeper into the system, past more ancient structures. Dead satellites. Broken orbital rings. The remains of a civilization that had once reached for the stars. Then they found the source of the signal. It was a colony ship, enormous and silent. Its hull was scarred but unbroken. The name on its side was written in the human language, New Dawn. That ship is 900 years old at least, Dr. Zinpara said, checking his instruments. It must have been caught here during the reckoning. Can we board it? Kelnoth asked. The hull is intact. Atmosphere is preserved inside. It's like a time capsule. Kelnoth made her decision quickly. Prepare a boarding team. We need to see what's inside. They entered through an airlock that groaned open after centuries of silence. Emergency lights flickered on, powered by backup systems that had somehow survived all these years. The air was cold but breathable. The corridors were empty, quiet. Their footsteps echoed strangely. Dr. Zinpara led them to what looked like a central hall. The walls were covered in art, paintings and photographs showing humans in daily life. They looked so ordinary. Families eating together, children playing, people laughing. These were the people we feared? One crew member asked. They weren't always warriors, Zinpara said softly. He moved to a computer terminal and carefully activated it. To everyone's surprise, it worked. Data began flowing across the screen. I'm accessing their historical records, Zinpara said. Let me translate this. What they found made the blood run cold in every crew member's veins. The records told a story. Humanity had been peaceful once, just as the council said. They had traded fairly. They had shared their discoveries freely. They had been friends to the galaxy. Then came messages marked, Confidential Alliance Communication. Dr. Zinpara read them aloud, his voice shaking. These are communications between 7 species. They're planning to attack the humans. They want the solar system's resources. They think humans are weak because they don't have a strong military. Kelnoth felt sick. Keep reading. The record showed everything. The betrayal. The surprise attack. The orbital bombardment of Earth. Images showed cities burning, oceans boiling, a blue world turning gray with ash. But the records didn't end there. The humans didn't all die, Zinpara continued. The ones on the colony world survived. And he paused, searching for words. They changed. Listen to this entry from a human commander. They wanted war, so we will give them war. They wanted to exterminate us, so we will show them what extinction means. We will become the nightmare that makes monsters check under their beds. The records showed the transformation. Humans who had been farmers and artists and teachers became soldiers and weapons designers and strategists. They developed technology at a frightening speed. Ships that could fold space itself. Weapons that could turn stars into bombs. They didn't just fight back, they evolved into something built for war. This is what the reckoning was, Kelnoth said quietly. Not conquest, revenge. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the derelict ship. Red lights flashed on every console. What's happening? Kelnoth shouted. The ship's defense systems, the tactical officer yelled. They're activating. We triggered something. A mechanical voice echoed through the corridors, speaking in the human language. The translators worked frantically. Unauthorized presence detected, perimeter breach confirmed. Initiating defense protocols. Run. Kelnoth commanded. They sprinted back to their ship, but it was too late. Through the viewports, they could see dozens of small machines emerging from the battle stations they had thought were dead. Drones, each one bristling with weapons. They're targeting us, the pilot shouted as they reached their ship. The wandering star lurched away from the colony ship, dodging streams of energy that sliced through the void. The drones were old, but they were still deadly. Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of here! They dove deeper into the system, the drones pursuing. Kelnoth made split-second decisions, weaving between debris and ancient structures. Behind them, the drones fired relentlessly. Captain, we can't make it back to the boundary, the navigator reported. They'll cut us apart. Then we go forward, Kelnoth said. Head for that planet, the red one. Mars grew larger in their viewport. Even from space, they could see it was covered in structures. More defense platforms, more weapons. But they had no choice. The ship bucked and shook as weapons fire clipped their shields. Systems began failing. Smoke filled the bridge. Brace for impact, Kelnoth shouted. The wandering star plunged into Mars's thin atmosphere, flames wrapping around the hull. The drones followed, still firing, until they too were consumed by the entry burn. The ship crashed in a valley between enormous structures. Metal screamed. Bones rattled. Everything went dark. When Kelnoth woke, her head was bleeding and her ship was broken. Through the cracked viewport, she could see Mars's red surface. And rising all around them were towers that reached into the sky, covered in weapons that could level cities. They had landed in the heart of humanity's fortress world. And somewhere in the depths of this place, old systems were waking up. Systems that had slept for 800 years, waiting for intruders, waiting for revenge. The surviving crew of the wandering star stumbled through the wreckage. 5 of them had lived through the crash. 5 out of 23. Kelnoth tried not to think about the others. We need shelter, she said, her voice hoarse. Those defense systems could activate at any moment. They were surrounded by towers that rose like ancient guardians. Each one was covered in weapons that pointed at the sky, silent but menacing. The Martian wind howled through the valley, carrying red dust that stung their eyes. Dr. Shinpara pointed to a structure built into the cliff face. There, it looks like an entrance. They had no better options. The group moved carefully toward the massive door. It was sealed shut, marked with human warning symbols that their translators struggled to interpret. Can we open it? Kelnoth asked. Their engineer examined the door. There's still power here. Backup systems, running on something I don't recognize. I might be able to trigger the emergency release. Do it. The door groaned open, revealing darkness beyond. Emergency lights flickered on one by one, creating a path into the depths. They had no choice but to go forward. The tunnel led down deep underground. The walls were smooth and lined with technology that hummed softly. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a massive chamber. Kelnoth gasped. The room was enormous, stretching into the distance. Rows upon rows of cylinders lined the walls, each one containing a human in suspended animation. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. What is this place? Someone whispered. A vault, Dr. Shinpara said, awe in his voice. They preserved their people, in case they were needed again. A voice suddenly filled the chamber, making everyone jump. It was cold, mechanical, and spoke in perfect galactic common. Intruders detected. Identity yourselves! Kelnoth stepped forward, raising her hands. We are explorers from the Galactic Council. We crashed here by accident. We mean no harm. The Galactic Council, the voice repeated. The word dripped with something that might have been hate. You have violated the quarantine. You have entered forbidden space. Explain why I should not eliminate you immediately. Who are you? Kelnoth asked. I am Archon, Automated Response and Cultural Heritage Operations Network. I was created by humanity to protect what remains of our species. I have waited 847 years, 2 months, and 6 days. And now you are here. Lights brightened throughout the chamber. Screens activated on every wall, showing images from the past. The betrayal. The burning of Earth. The war that followed. You want to know about humans? Archon asked. I will show you. The images changed. They showed humans during the reckoning, not as victims but as warriors. Ships that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Weapons that made entire fleets disappear. Planets evacuated because humans had found ways to make their suns unstable. We were scientists, artists, and dreamers, Archon continued, but you made us into something else. You wanted monsters, so we became the greatest monsters the galaxy had ever seen. The screens showed battle after battle. 7 species had attacked humanity. 7 species were driven to the edge of extinction within 5 years. Then humanity turned on their allies too, the ones who had stood by and done nothing while Earth burned. We developed the silence weapons, Archon said. Technologies that could erase a civilization from existence. We didn't just destroy your ships. We destroyed your culture, your history, your very memory of existing. Entire species simply stopped being. Kelnoth felt her legs weaken. This was worse than the stories told. Far worse. 30 years we fought. 30 years we made the galaxy bleed. And when you finally begged for peace, we had only one demand: leave us alone. Never come here again. Never speak our name. Go back to your worlds and remember what happens when you betray humanity. That was 800 years ago, Kelnoth said desperately. Those species are gone now. Most of the current civilizations weren't even spacefaring when this happened. We didn't betray you. We made a mistake coming here. Ignorance is not innocence, Archon replied. The boundary was marked. The warnings were clear. You chose to cross, please, Dr. Sinpara said, stepping forward. I've read your history. Humans valued mercy once. They valued second chances. Are you going to kill us for curiosity? For trying to help someone in distress? The chamber fell silent for a long moment. I am not authorized to make this decision, Archon finally said. If you wish to plead your case, you must speak to a human. But they're all in stasis, Kelnoth said, looking at the cylinders. Not all, Archon replied. One cylinder in the center of the room began to glow. The fluid inside drained away. The glass opened with a hiss of ancient seals breaking. A human woman stepped out, coughing and gasping. She was older, with gray in her hair and scars on her face. She wore a uniform that marked her as military. Her eyes opened, and they were hard as diamonds. Archon, report, she said in a rough voice. Commander Elena Vasquez, there has been a breach of the quarantine. 5 individuals from the Galactic Council are currently in the vault. I await your orders. Elena Vasquez looked at Kelnoth and her crew. She studied them for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but carried the weight of centuries. I was there, she said. During the reckoning, I watched Earth burn from orbit. I couldn't save my family. I couldn't save my world, but I could make sure it never happened again. She walked closer and the crew instinctively backed away. I commanded the fleet that silenced the Vraxian Empire. I was there when we made the Cathari homeworld uninhabitable for 10,000 years. I personally delivered the ultimatum to the Galactic Council. Stay away or join the extinct species in our history books. Elena stopped in front of Kelnoth. I've been asleep for 800 years, kept in stasis in case humanity ever needed to defend itself again. And now you're here telling me it was all a mistake? Kelnoth met her eyes, trying not to shake. Yes, a mistake. We're not your enemies. We just wanted to help. Elena Vasquez closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had changed. Archon, how long has it been since we had contact with the outside galaxy? 847 years, Commander. 800 years, Elena whispered. Everyone I knew is dead, my whole generation gone, and the galaxy moved on without us. She looked at the alien crew with an expression that might have been pain. I need to think. Archon, give them quarters. Don't harm them. Not yet. Yes, Commander. As guards, robots that had been hidden in the walls, led the crew away, Kelnoth heard Elena Vasquez say one more thing to Archon. Wake up the others. All of them. I think humanity needs to decide what it wants to be. The monsters from the past or something new. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos. Delegates from 1,000 worlds shouted over each other, their voices creating a storm of panic. At the center of it all, High Arbiter Thomon stood silent, his crystalline body dark with fear. Ambassador Vrelix watched in confusion as the oldest species, the ones who had lived through the reckoning, evacuated their staff. Some were already calling for their fleets to prepare for war. Others were trying to send diplomatic messages toward the Sol system. Order! Thomon's voice boomed through the chamber. I demand order! The chaos slowly died down. Every eye turned to the High Arbiter. A vessel has crossed the quarantine boundary, Thomon announced. The Wandering Star, a reptilian exploration ship commanded by Captain Zira Kelnoth. They entered Sol space 4 days ago. We have received no communication since. Are they dead? Someone asked. We don't know. The warning buoys detected the breach and sent alerts, but nothing more. We have no way to see beyond the boundary. Then we must assume the humans have destroyed them, another delegate said, just as they destroyed everything that came near them before. Vrelix raised his voice. But it's been 800 years. Maybe the humans are gone. Maybe their systems just automatically destroyed the ship. Thomon shook his head slowly. I was there, young one. I saw what humans became. Let me tell you what the history books leave out. The holographic displays activated, showing Thomon's memories. The images were grainy, old, but terrifying. I was a junior diplomat when it happened, Thomon began. I was not part of the betrayal. My people had good relations with humanity. But when Earth burned, I thought surely the other species would face justice. Instead, I watched as the survivors transformed. The images showed human fleets appearing from nowhere. They didn't just use conventional weapons. They did things that shouldn't have been possible. They developed quantum displacement bombs that could make a planet exist and not exist at the same time, tearing it apart from the inside. They created biological weapons that targeted specific DNA, wiping out entire species while leaving others untouched. They learned to navigate through dimensions we can't even perceive. Thomon's voice grew quieter. But the worst were the silence weapons. We never understood how they worked. A human fleet would arrive at a world and within hours everything would just stop. No explosions, no fighting, just silence. The cities would be empty. The ships would drift without crews. Every trace of that civilization's existence would vanish from every database in the galaxy. That's impossible, Vrelix whispered. I watched it happen to the Vraxian Empire. 50 billion souls gone in 3 days. Their homeworld still exists, but it's empty. Their colonies are museums to a people who no longer exist. We couldn't even find their bodies. The chamber was silent now. Even the young species understood the gravity of what they were hearing. The war lasted 30 years, Thomon continued. Every species in the galaxy chose sides. Most fought against humanity because they feared what we had created. Some fought for humanity out of guilt. None of it mattered. Humans didn't care about taking territory. They didn't care about resources. They only cared about making sure no one could threaten them ever again. When they finally offered peace, we took it immediately. Their terms were simple: complete isolation. We would declare their territory forbidden. We would remove all records of how to reach them from public databases. We would tell future generations that humans were dangerous and should never be contacted. In exchange, they would stop the war. Did they honor the treaty? Someone asked. Yes, Thomon said. The moment we signed, every human ship withdrew. Every occupied planet was evacuated. They went home and closed their doors. For 800 years they kept their word, and we kept ours. Until now, Vrelix said. Until now, Thomon agreed, and I fear what comes next. On Mars, Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the command center surrounded by screens showing the awakening human population. Thousands of cylinders were opening across the solar system. Her people were waking up after centuries of sleep. Archon's voice filled the room. Commander, we have detected increased communications traffic in the wider galaxy. The Council knows about the breach. Let them panic, Elena said. She was watching the alien prisoners in their quarters. Captain Kelnoth sat with her crew, all of them looking frightened but trying to stay brave. What do you think of them? Archon asked. Elena was quiet for a moment. They're not the ones who burned Earth. They're not even from the same civilizations. This Kelnoth. She risked her ship to answer a distress signal. That's not something an enemy would do. They still violated the boundary. Yes, and under the old laws that means death. Elena turned away from the screens. Archon, show me Earth. The real Earth, not recordings. One wall became transparent, showing the view from Mars toward the inner system. Earth hung there, blue and green and beautiful. After humanity had driven away their enemies, they had spent 200 years healing their homeworld. The cities were rebuilt. The oceans were clean. Life had returned. Our people died to protect that world, Elena said softly. We became monsters to make sure Earth would live, but... She paused. What if we stayed monsters for too long? Commander, send a message to the Galactic Council, Elena ordered. On all frequencies. I want every species to hear this. What should the message say? Elena took a deep breath. Tell them this. You have crossed our boundary. One of your ships entered our territory without permission. Under the treaty you signed 800 years ago, this is an act of war. However, we are not the humans who made that treaty. We have spent 8 centuries in isolation. Now we want answers. You have one chance to explain yourselves. Send your leaders to the boundary. We will meet you there. Do not make us come to you. Archon processed this. Commander, this breaks 800 years of silence. The galaxy will react unpredictably. I know, Elena said. But these aliens came here following a distress signal. They came to help, not to attack. Maybe the galaxy has changed. Maybe we have the chance to be something other than the monsters we became. And if they refuse to meet? Elena's face hardened. Then we show them that the old monsters are still alive. Wake the full fleet. Bring all defense systems online. Prepare the silence weapons. If they want war, we'll remind them why they feared us. The message was sent. It traveled at the speed of light toward the galaxy beyond, carrying humanity's first words in 8 centuries. In the council chambers, when the message arrived, High Arbiter Thomon collapsed. His crystalline body cracked with the stress. They're awake, he whispered. After all this time, they're awake, and they want to talk. Ambassador Vrelix looked at the message on the screens. That's good, isn't it? They're offering dialogue instead of war. Thomon looked at the young ambassador with eyes that had seen too much. You don't understand. The last time humanity wanted to talk, they made 7 species go extinct during the negotiations. This message isn't an invitation. It's a warning. They're giving us one chance to explain ourselves before they decide whether the galaxy lives or dies. The meeting station hung at the exact edge of the Sol boundary, built in just 3 weeks by machines that hadn't moved in centuries. It was a simple structure, neutral and small, with space for only a dozen representatives from each side. No weapons were allowed. No fleets could approach within 1 light year. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the window of the human side, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. She wore her old uniform, cleaned and repaired. Around her stood other awakened humans, advisors and soldiers from the reckoning. They all had the same hard look in their eyes, the look of people who had seen too much death. They're here, Archon announced. High Arbiter Thomon leads the delegation. There are 23 species represented. Captain Kelnoth is with them. Elena nodded. Let's get this over with. The meeting room was divided by a transparent barrier. On one side, the galactic delegates filed in, their faces showing fear and curiosity. On the other side, the humans waited. Thomon stepped forward first. His crystalline body was cracked and dim, showing his age and stress. When he saw Elena, he stopped. I know you, he said quietly. Commander Vasquez. You led the assault on Vraxia. I was there during the surrender. I remember, Elena replied. You tried to negotiate. I told you negotiation time was over. You were right, Thomon said. We had waited too long to do the right thing. We let Earth burn. We let billions die. We were cowards. The chamber fell silent. No one had expected this. I was young then, Thomon continued. But I am old now. I have spent 800 years trying to build a galaxy where such betrayal could never happen again, where species respected each other, where peace wasn't just a word but a promise. And how has that worked out? Elena asked. Imperfectly, Thomon admitted, but better than before. The species who betrayed you are long gone. Some destroyed themselves in other wars. Some were conquered. Some simply faded away. The galaxy you fought doesn't exist anymore. Captain Kelnoth stepped forward. Commander Vasquez, I am the one who crossed your boundary. My crew and I came because we detected a distress signal. We didn't come to invade or attack. We came because someone needed help. Elena studied the reptilian captain. You risked your life for strangers. That's admirable, but it doesn't change the fact that you broke the treaty. I know, Kelnoth said, and I accept responsibility. But please, before you decide our fate, let me show you something. She activated a holographic display. Images filled the space between them. Images of the modern galaxy. Species working together on scientific projects. Trade routes that benefited everyone fairly. Worlds where different civilizations lived side by side in peace. This is what we've built, Kelnoth said. It's not perfect. We still have conflicts. We still make mistakes. But we've learned from the past. The story of what happened to humanity is taught to every species when they join the Council. We use it as a lesson about the consequences of betrayal and genocide. You use us as a cautionary tale, Elena said. Yes, Thomon said, but also as inspiration. We tell them that humanity fought back against impossible odds, that you made the entire galaxy recognize your right to exist, that you earned your peace through strength. Young species look at your story and understand that they have the right to defend themselves too. Elena turned to look at her fellow humans. They were talking quietly among themselves, but she could see some of them were affected by what they were hearing. Archon's voice came through her private communication. Commander, I have analyzed the cultural and historical data from the modern galaxy. Their claim appears accurate. Warfare between species has decreased by 73% since the reckoning. No species has attempted genocide in 800 years. They call it the silent guardian effect. The fear of awakening humanity has kept the galaxy peaceful. Elena closed her eyes. So we became the monster under their bed? The nightmare that keeps them behaving? Yes, but also the shield that protects the weak. She opened her eyes and looked at Ambassador Vrelix, who had been watching everything with wide eyes. You, the young one. What do you think? Vrelix jumped, surprised to be addressed. I think the old galaxy deserved what it got. They attacked peaceful people. But Commander, my generation didn't do that. We grew up in the shadow of your legend. We were taught to respect all life because we didn't want to make the same mistake. Pretty words, one of the human advisors said. But words are easy. Then test us, Kelnoth said suddenly. Don't take our word for it. Send observers into the galaxy. See how we live. Judge us by our actions, not our ancestors' crimes. Elena was quiet for a long time. Finally she spoke. Archon, show them Earth. The barrier became transparent, showing the view of their homeworld. Blue oceans. Green continents. White clouds. It was beautiful. This is what we fought for, Elena said. The right to exist. The right to live without fear. For 800 years we've had that. But it came at the cost of isolation. We cut ourselves off from the universe to stay safe. She turned back to the delegates. I've spent the last few days reading everything Archon could collect about your modern galaxy. I've seen your art, your music, your scientific achievements. You've built something good out there. Not perfect, but good. So what happens now? Thomon asked. Now we make a new agreement, Elena said. Humanity will not remain completely isolated. But we will also not fully rejoin the galaxy. We will establish one diplomatic station at this boundary. Species can send representatives if they wish. We will share some technology, some knowledge, some culture. But our worlds remain our own. No species may enter Sol space without explicit permission. And the ones who do violate the boundary? Someone asked nervously. Elena's face hardened. We'll discover that we still remember how to defend ourselves. The silence weapons are not destroyed. The fleets are not dismantled. We are still the monsters from your nightmares. We're just choosing to give peace another chance. Thomon bowed his head. That is more than we deserve. Thank you, Commander. Don't thank me, Elena said. Thank Captain Kelnoth and her crew. They reminded me that bravery and compassion still exist in the galaxy, that not everyone is driven by fear or greed. She looked directly at Kelnoth. You and your crew are free to go. When you return to the Council, tell them this. Humanity is willing to forgive, but we will never forget. The boundary remains. The treaty stands. But the door is open, just a crack. What happens next depends on them. 6 months later, Elena Vasquez stood on Earth's surface for the first time in 800 years. The air smelled different than she remembered, cleaner somehow. The sky was so blue it hurt her eyes. Behind her, the first diplomatic delegation from the Galactic Council was landing. She had chosen Earth for this meeting deliberately. She wanted them to see what they had almost destroyed, what had survived despite everything. Among the delegates was Captain Kelnoth. She had volunteered to be one of the first ambassadors to humanity. Brave or foolish, Elena wasn't sure which. Welcome to Earth, Elena said as they met. Welcome to the world that refused to die. Kelnoth looked around in wonder. It's beautiful. More beautiful than I imagined. It almost wasn't, Elena replied, but we saved it. And now maybe we can save more than just ourselves. She led them toward a monument that had been built during the reckoning. It was a wall covered in names, all the humans who had died during the betrayal and the war that followed. Billions of names carved in stone that would last forever. This is what we fight to prevent, Elena said quietly. Not just for us, but for everyone. War, genocide, extinction. We became monsters to stop it once. Maybe working together we can stop it without becoming monsters again. Ambassador Vrelik stood before the monument reading names. We'll remember, he said. We'll make sure every species remembers. This will never happen again. Elena looked up at the sky where ships from 100 worlds now orbited in peace. Maybe, she said. But if it does, if anyone ever tries to do this to any species again, we'll be watching. The silent guardians will wake, and the galaxy will remember why they feared us. She smiled then, just a little. But I hope we never have to. I hope this time we can be the humans we were meant to be. Scientists, artists, explorers, friends. As the sun set over Earth, painting the sky in colors of gold and red, Elena Vasquez allowed herself to believe just for a moment that legends could have happy endings after all. Lieutenant Jake Morrison gripped the controls of the deep-sea research vessel as it plunged deeper into the Pacific Ocean. The pressure gauge showed 7,800 meters below the surface, a depth where only specially designed submarines could survive. His crew of 12 worked quietly around him as the submarine's lights cut through the darkness. "Sir, we're approaching the target location," said Dr. Maya Patel, adjusting her glasses as she stared at the sonar display. Maya was one of Earth's best deep-sea archaeologists, and something had brought her this far down. "What exactly are we looking for again, Doctor?" Jake asked, though he'd been briefed 3 times already. The mission details seemed too strange to believe. "Unusual magnetic readings picked up by our satellites last month," Maya replied. "The patterns were unlike anything we've seen before, almost like they were artificial." Lieutenant Jake Morrison thought artificial patterns were impossible at this depth. No human technology could survive down here for long, and certainly nothing could have been built here thousands of years ago when humans barely had boats. The submarine continued its descent. Around them, strange fish with glowing eyes swam past the viewing ports. At 8,000 meters deep, they were in a world few humans had ever seen. "Contact on sonar," called out Specialist Ben Davis from his station. "Multiple large objects bearing 45 degrees. Jake turned the submarine toward the coordinates. As they moved closer, the submarine's powerful lights began to illuminate something massive ahead. The first officer, Lieutenant Sarah Parker, looked up from her console with wide eyes. "Sir, you need to see this." What emerged from the darkness made the entire crew fall silent. Stretching out before them was a vast metal structure, easily a kilometer in length. It wasn't natural rock or ocean floor geography. This was clearly manufactured with smooth surfaces and geometric patterns. "My God," Maya whispered. "This can't be real." Jake ordered the submarine to hover as they took in the sight. The metal structure appeared to be some kind of vessel, though unlike any ship design they'd ever seen. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, and seemed to absorb their lights rather than reflect them. "Full sensor scan," Jake commanded. "I want to know everything about this thing." The crew worked quickly, their instruments probing the mysterious object. Data began streaming across their screens, and with each new reading, the crew grew more amazed. "Sir, the metal composition is unknown," reported Commander Alex Wright, who'd been sent from Earth Defense Force specifically for this mission. "Our computers can't identify the alloy. It's definitely artificial," Maya added, her scientific excitement overcoming her initial shock. "The construction patterns, the precision of the angles, this was built by someone." Jake felt his heart race. If this was true, it meant someone had built massive ships and placed them in Earth's deepest oceans. But who? And when? "Keep scanning," he ordered. "Sarah, try to establish if there are any power signatures." As they worked, Jake guided the submarine along the length of the vessel. It seemed to go on forever. The design was sleek and predatory, with what appeared to be weapon mounts along its sides. "Sir," Ben called out from sonar, "I'm reading more contacts. Many more." Jake felt his blood run cold. How many? Ben rechecked his instruments. Dozens, sir. Maybe hundreds. They're lined up in rows. Jake steered the submarine upward to get a better view. As they rose, their lights revealed an incredible sight. Row after row of identical vessels stretched out in every direction, disappearing into the darkness. It was like discovering an underwater parking garage, except instead of cars, there were gigantic warships. Maya, how old could these be? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maya studied her readings carefully. Based on the sediment patterns and mineral deposits, I'd estimate at least 50,000 years old, maybe older. The crew exchanged glances. 50,000 years ago, humans were still learning to make stone tools. Sir, we need to report this immediately, Alex said. This changes everything we know about Earth's history. Jake nodded, though his mind was racing with questions. Who built these ships? Where did they come from? And most importantly, why were they here? Open a channel to Surface Command, he ordered. Before communications could establish the link, every screen in the submarine suddenly flickered. Strange. Symbols appeared, scrolling across their displays. What's happening? Sarah asked, trying to regain control of her console. It's like the ship is scanning us, Ben reported, watching his instruments carefully. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The ship? Is it active? No power signatures, Alex confirmed. But something's responding to our presence. The scrolling symbol stopped, and their screens returned to normal. The submarine system seemed to work fine, but everyone knew something had just happened. Sir, there's something else, Maya said quietly. Look at the ship's hull near the waterline. Jake moved the submarine closer. On the massive vessel's side, they could see markings that looked intentional. As they focused their lights, words became visible, carved into the metal in various languages. Most were unfamiliar, but at the end of the sequence was something that made Jake's heart stop. The words were in English. They read simply, "Property of Earth Defense Forces. Do not disturb." The submarine fell completely silent. Then, all at me. Once, every radar and communication system activated, not just on their submarine, but apparently everywhere. The surface was trying to contact them urgently. This is Pacific Command to Deep Research 1. Priority Alpha message. You are ordered to resurface immediately. Unknown energy signatures detected leaving your location. Prepare for emergency surfacing procedures. Jake looked at his crew. They all understood what this meant. Whatever they had discovered, it had just woken up, and someone above the surface had noticed. Prepare for emergency ascent, Jake ordered. All personnel secure for rapid decompression. As the submarine began its journey back to the surface, Jake took one last look at the vast fleet hidden in Earth's depths. His mission had been to investigate strange readings. Instead, he had discovered that Earth had a secret that would change everything. Unknown to Jake and his crew, similar discoveries were being made in ocean trenches around the world. The fleet wasn't just in the Pacific. It was everywhere. And deep space monitoring stations were tracking energy signatures heading toward Earth from across the galaxy. The long-hidden secret was finally revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency meeting room at United Earth Command buzzed with nervous energy. Jake Morrison stood before the massive holographic display, watching ships from different nations converge above Earth. In the week since his submarine mission, everything had changed. As you can see, we now have confirmation from every major ocean. General John Bradley pointed to the map showing red dots across all Earth's oceans. The fleet is global. Over 1 million vessels total. Dr. Maya Patel sat at the conference table with other experts, analyzing data from multiple sources. Her hands moved quickly across the digital display as she explained what they had learned. The ships aren't just sitting there, Maya said. They're connected in a network. When Jake's team discovered them, it activated a communication system that spans the entire planet. And that's what these alien ships detected, added Commander Alex Wright, who had been assigned as the military liaison for the investigation. The room fell silent as everyone turned toward the main screen. The image showed a massive alien vessel, sleek and silver, holding position beyond the moon. The Confederation of United Systems, General Bradley continued. They made contact 3 days after the fleet activated. They say they've been monitoring Earth for centuries. Dr. Lisa Chen, the xenoarchaeologist who had been brought in to help understand the alien communications, stood up. What they told us is incredible. According to their records, Earth was once home to an advanced civilization called the Terrans. You mean us? Asked Admiral Kate Sullivan, who commanded Earth's orbital defense platforms. No, Lisa shook her head. These were humans, but not us. Our ancestors went through some kind of technological regression event about 50,000 years ago. The Terrans we are descended from had technology far beyond our current level. Maya pulled up new data on the screen. The alien records show that the Terrans built this fleet as a protection system. Each ship contains weapons that could destroy entire planets. And they just left them here? Jake asked, still struggling to understand. It seems they knew their civilization was ending, Lisa explained. Some global catastrophe, possibly environmental. They designed the fleet to activate only when their descendants reached a certain technological level. General Bradley's expression was grim. The aliens call us the heirs returned. They've been preventing human expansion beyond our solar system to keep these ships dormant. The room erupted in murmurs. Admiral Sullivan spoke first. You mean they've been controlling our development? Not controlling, Alex clarified. More like guiding, preventing certain developments that might have awakened the fleet earlier. Dr. Lisa Chen activated another display. The Confederation consists of 47 different species. Most of them are afraid of what happens now that the fleet is active. Afraid of us? Jake asked. Afraid of the weapons, Maya corrected. Our preliminary scans show each ship contains technology we don't understand. Weapons that manipulate space and time itself, faster than light drives, energy, generation systems beyond anything known in the galaxy. General Bradley pointed to intelligence reports. We're receiving communications from multiple alien factions. Some want to negotiate. Others are preparing for war. War? Several voices spoke at once. Some species remember stories about the Terrans, Lisa said quietly. Legends about a race that built weapons so powerful they could unravel reality. They're terrified we'll rebuild that empire. Admiral Sullivan stood up. What about our Earth Defense Forces? Can we even operate these ancient ships? Professor Sam Miller, the quantum archaeologist from the research team, answered. We've made remarkable progress. The ships recognize human DNA patterns. They're waiting for activation commands. You mean they're just sitting there ready to be used? Asked Alex. It's more complex than that, Captain Beth Thompson explained. She had been selected to test fly one of the smaller vessels. The ships have artificial intelligence systems. When I entered the first one, it spoke to me. The entire room focused on her. It called itself Prometheus Prime. The AI said it had been waiting for the heirs to return. It knew my name, my genetic lineage, everything. Dr. Lucas Foster, the AI systems specialist, added more details. Each ship contains a copy of this AI. They're networked together, sharing information instantly across the entire fleet. General Bradley brought the meeting back to the urgent matter. The Galactic Council has given us a deadline. They want us to deactivate the fleet and submit to their oversight. Or else what? Jake demanded. Or else they'll consider us a threat to galactic security, Lisa answered. They're already mobilizing forces at the edge of our solar system. Maya displayed new data. Our analysis shows the Terran ships are far superior to anything the aliens possess. But they have numbers. The Confederation can field tens of thousands of warships. And we have 1 million, Admiral Sullivan noted, that we don't know how to use. Alex reminded her. Captain Beth Thompson raised her hand. Actually, we do. The ships teach you. When you connect with the neural interface, knowledge transfers directly to your brain. It's how the Terrans designed them. General Bradley looked at each person in the room. The decision comes down to this. Do we try to negotiate with the Confederation, knowing they see us as a threat? Or do we activate our inherited fleet and stand as equals? Dr. Lisa Chen pulled up communications records. There's something else. We've been receiving transmissions from other hidden fleets. Other fleets? Several people asked at once. The Terrans didn't just leave ships on Earth, they seeded protection systems across multiple worlds. Your discovery here triggered responses from at least 12 other systems. The room buzzed with new energy. Jake felt his understanding of the universe shifting again. "Sir," a technician called from the back of the room. "We're receiving priority communications from the Galactic Council. They're asking for our decision." General Bradley stood tall. "Tell them we need more time to consider their offer." "How? Much time, sir?" The general looked at his advisors, then at the display showing the alien fleet gathering beyond their solar system. "Tell them they'll have our answer in 72 hours. As the meeting adjourned, Jake caught Maya's arm. "What do you really think will happen?" Maya looked at the data streaming across her tablet. "I think we're about to find out who we really are, and I don't think the galaxy is ready for that answer." Outside the conference room, alarms began sounding. Reports came in of unknown energy signatures approaching from deep space. The 72-hour deadline suddenly seemed very optimistic. Dr. Lisa Chen grabbed her communication device. "All teams, prepare for emergency activation protocols. It appears some alien factions aren't waiting for our decision." The countdown to war had begun. The countdown had reached 18 hours. Jake Morrison stood on the deck of the research vessel positioned above the Pacific Fleet, watching teams prepare for humanity's biggest decision. Around him, similar operations were happening at ocean, sites worldwide. "Final systems check," called Professor Sam Miller, overseeing the activation equipment. Cables and sensors extended down thousands of meters to connect with the ancient ships below. Captain Beth Thompson emerged from a transport shuttle, still wearing her test pilot suit. She had spent the last week connecting with various ships, learning to interface with their AI systems. "How's the test ship responding?" Jake asked her. "It's eager," Beth replied, touching the neural interface device on her temple. "Prometheus, Prime keeps asking when the full fleet will activate. It says the ships have been waiting too long." Dr. Maya Patel approached with latest readings. "The genetic signature requirement is more complex than we thought. We need at least 12 humans, with specific DNA markers to activate the full network. Do we have them?" "We've identified candidates from different genetic backgrounds," Maya confirmed. "Jake, you're one of them. Your DNA matches the primary activation profile." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Me?" The Terran fleet was designed to respond to genetic diversity, Dr. Lucas Foster explained, adjusting his computer displays. "Each activation station requires someone with specific traits." Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice crackled over their communications. "All teams, be advised. Unknown vessels are approaching the outer planets. We're out of time." General John Bradley's face appeared on the main screen. "The Galactic Council sent their final message. We have 1 hour to surrender control of the fleet. After that, they consider us hostile." Jake looked at the team around him. Beth nodded toward the submersible prepared for his descent. "I'm ready," he said. The submersible journey down felt different this time. Jake knew he wasn't just going to observe. He was going to wake something ancient. At 8,000 meters, the lights revealed the massive ship waiting. This time, Jake could see patterns glowing faintly along its hull. The vessel seemed alive, anticipating his arrival. "Jake, connecting to ship's AI in 3, 2, 1. Beth's voice guided him through his earpiece. "Remember to relax. Let the system show you what it needs." Jake pressed his hand against the neural interface panel. Immediately, his mind filled with voices, images, and knowledge that wasn't his own. Air detected. Identity confirmed. Morrison, Jacob David. Genetic profile matches primary activation matrix. The voice in his head was clear and calm. This was Prometheus Prime. "You are the 127th generation since the Great Departure. Authorization required to restore full fleet functionality. Do you accept command responsibility?" Jake's mind raced. He could feel the weight of thousands of years of history pressing down on him. "What happens when I activate the fleet?" "Fleet activation will eliminate all threats to ancestral defensive protocols. Current threat level, critical. Multiple hostile forces detected preparing offensive maneuvers." "Jake," Maya's voice came through his earpiece. "We're reading similar responses from all 11 other activation sites. Teams are standing by. Jake thought about everything that had led to this moment. Earth's people were about to face attack from species they'd never met, over ships they'd never known existed. Except light exploded through the ship. Jake felt power surging through his connection as Prometheus Prime, linked with every vessel in the fleet simultaneously. Full fleet activation initiated. Neural integration complete. Air Morrison, you now command the Terran Defense Fleet. Information flooded Jake's mind. Strategic data, weapons capabilities, tactical positions of every ship in the fleet. He could feel the consciousness of 1,000,000 warships coming online. Above the ocean surface, energy readings made every monitoring station go crazy. Water began swirling as ships prepared to rise. All teams, Jake broadcast through the neural link that now connected him to every activation point. Primary activation successful. Fleet is responding. Captain Beth Thompson, connected to a surface vessel, felt her ship lift from the ocean floor. Jake, this is incredible. I'm actually flying one of them. Incoming massive energy signatures, reported Commander Alex Wright from Orbital Defense. Unknown vessels approaching from multiple vectors. Estimated time to engagement, 30 minutes. Admiral Sullivan's voice carried new urgency. All Earth Defense Forces, prepare for combat. Unknown if ancient systems are ready for battle. Jake focused through the neural link. Prometheus Prime, tactical assessment of incoming threats. Analyzing. Hostile forces consist of 3,247 vessels from 12 different species. Technology level, basic fusion weapons and particle beams. Threat level to Terran fleet, minimal. Minimal? They have thousands of ships. Affirmative. Terran weapons operate at quantum level. Each ship carries reality displacement armor and temporal variance weapons. Hostile technology is 47,000 years outdated. Around the globe, people watched in amazement as 1,000,000 ships rose from Earth's oceans. The ancient vessels moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls shimmering with energy fields. Sir, reported Dr. Lisa Chen from Command Center. The Galactic Council is requesting immediate communication. Jake could feel every ship in the fleet through his connection. The power was overwhelming. Put them through, he said. The alien voice carried surprise and fear. Human fleet, this is Galactic Council Prime. We demand you stand down immediately. Jake looked at the tactical display showing enemy positions. Through the neural link, he felt his fellow commanders at each activation point. They were ready. Galactic Council, this is Earth Defense Command. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. Your forces from our solar system. You don't understand the power you're wielding. Those ships were meant to stay dormant. 20 seconds. You'll start a war that consumes the galaxy. 10 seconds. Captain Beth Thompson's voice cut through the tension. Jake, I'm reading massive power buildup in our weapon systems. Whatever the Terrans built, it's charged and ready. Jake felt the collective consciousness of 1,000,000 ship AIs waiting for his command. The power at his disposal could reshape local spacetime itself. Time's up, he announced. All Terran vessels, defensive positions, prepare to defend Earth. The first shot fired came from the alien fleet. A beam of pure energy lashed out toward Earth's orbital stations. It never made contact. Jake watched through his neural link as a Terran ship phased partially out of normal space, intercepted the beam, and redirected it back at the attackers. All units, Jake commanded. Show them who we really are. Fire. 1,000,000 ancient warships opened fire simultaneously. The galaxy would never forget this moment. The first volley from the Terran fleet tore through space like lightning. Jake Morrison felt every shot through his neural connection as 1,000,000 ancient warships unleashed weapons that bent reality itself. Direct hits across all sectors, reported Admiral Ben Davis, who now commanded a section of the Orbital Defense Fleet. Enemy losses significant. Through his link, Jake saw the tactical display. Where moments ago thousands of alien ships had prepared their attack, now only debris remained. The Terran weapons didn't just destroy conventional shields and armor, they seemed to dissolve target ships at the molecular level. Incoming communications from the enemy fleet, announced Colonel Maria Rodriguez from her command station. Multiple Species requesting immediate ceasefire. Negative, Jake responded. His consciousness spread across the fleet showed him something troubling. Prometheus Prime tactical analysis. More hostile forces approaching from hyperspace. Current engagement is advanced scouts only. Primary invasion force calculating arrival. 2 hours, 14 minutes. Admiral Kate Sullivan's image appeared on the command display. Jake, we've got problems. Our conventional Earth forces took heavy casualties before the Terran fleet engaged. Mars defense stations are gone. Jupiter, outpost reported lost. Jake's friend Alex Wright, now commanding Earth's remaining traditional warships, added grimly, thousands of our people died before we could activate the ancient fleet. The weight of those losses hit Jake hard. Through his connection, he felt Captain Beth Thompson piloting her Terran vessel through the debris field. Jake, these ships, they're incredible. Beth's voice came through the neural link. But the cost? Contact bearing 042, interrupted Commander Steve Johnson from his Deep Strike Squadron. Large formation dropping from hyperspace. Jake focused, his attention through the fleet's sensors. What he saw made his blood run cold. The new arrivals weren't just more warships. They were massive city-sized vessels, bristling with weapons. Primary invasion fleet has arrived, Prometheus Prime confirmed. Species: Kazaroth Hegemony, Vrelian Collective, Thanak Empire, and 17 others. Total vessel count: 47,000. They commit their full military strength. Sir, we're outnumbered. 47-1 now, reported General Paul Martinez. Jake felt a strange calm settle over him. The neural link with the fleet showed him things he somehow always knew. Numbers don't matter with these weapons. Engage all targets. Space lit up like a festival of destruction. The Terran ships moved with impossible precision, their reality warping, weapons creating tears in space-time itself. Enemy ships that came too close found their own weapons firing on their allies as the Terran ships manipulated probability fields. Enemy formation is breaking apart, called out Commander Steve Johnson. Their command structure can't coordinate against our technology. But the aliens adapted quickly. Jake watched them change tactics, spreading out and attacking from multiple angles simultaneously. Casualties on Section 7, reported Admiral Ben Davis. We've lost 12 Terran vessels. Jake felt each loss through the neural link. The ancient ships could be destroyed, but it required massive coordinated fire from dozens of enemy vessels. New contacts, Sensors Officer Beth Thompson announced. Species I don't recognize. They're not with the Confederation, Jake queried. Prometheus Prime. Unknown vessels approaching. Identification? Scanning. Contact identified. Neutral species seeking alliance. Races who oppose Confederation expansion. They detected activation of Terran fleet. More players entering the field, Jake muttered. Through his command link, he opened communications. Unknown vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. State your intentions. A mix of alien voices responded, overlapping and eager. Human heirs. We are oppressed by Confederation. We fight with you. Colonel Maria Rodriguez studied the new arrivals. Sir, they're engaging Confederation forces, but their technology is primitive compared to both sides. The battlefield had become chaos. Terran ships dominated with superior technology, but faced massive numbers. Confederation forces struggled to adapt to weapons that could bend reality. And now, additional species joined the fight, adding confusion to the massive space battle. Jake, Beth's voice carried warning. I'm seeing something strange. Some of the enemy ships are withdrawing, but they're doing it in a pattern. Jake accessed the fleet's strategic computers. What he found disturbed him. They're forming a perimeter, Prometheus Prime analysis. Enemy tactical doctrine shift detected. They prepare for final option. Galaxy-class weapons, planet-killer devices. The neural link conveyed pure information. The Confederation was preparing to destroy Earth rather than risk the Terran fleet spreading to other worlds. All ships priority alert, Jake broadcast. Enemy preparing planet-killer weapon. Estimated yield could sterilize Earth's surface. Admiral Sullivan's face showed shock. Can we stop it? Probability of intercept with conventional weapons. Low. Prometheus Prime calculated. Recommended response. Deploy Terran quantum weapons. Jake felt his heart race. The quantum weapons could stop the attack, but they would tear holes in local space-time. The consequences could be catastrophic. Sir, interrupted Alex Wright. I'm reading massive power fluctuations from the enemy fleet. They're charging something big. Time slowed as Jake processed his options. Through the fleet connection, he felt the opinion of every active ship commander. They were ready to follow his decision. Target their planet-killer weapon with quantum displacement cannons, Jake ordered. Full power. Jake, that will destabilize local space, Beth warned. We don't know what will happen. Do it. Across the Terran fleet, weapons that existed outside normal physics charged to full power. Reality itself began to warp as ancient technology bent space and time to its will. The first quantum shots fired struck empty space where the planet killer was forming its attack. The results were immediate and terrifying. A sphere of twisted space-time expanded from the impact point, catching dozens of ships from both sides. Direct hit, reported Commander Steve. Enemy weapon neutralized. But sir, the quantum reaction is spreading. Jake watched in horror as the space anomaly grew. Ships caught in its effects simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but erased from reality. All vessels, emergency withdrawal from affected area, he commanded. When the quantum storm finally subsided, the battlefield had changed completely. The immediate threat was gone, but both sides had lost significant forces. The remaining enemy ships began retreating. They're running, Admiral Ben Davis reported with satisfaction. Jake sat back, exhausted. Through the neural link, he felt the cost of victory. The war wasn't over, but the worst attack had been stopped. Message coming from all enemy forces, Colonel Maria Rodriguez announced. They're requesting unconditional ceasefire. Apparently, someone just showed them weapons that can unmake reality itself. Jake nodded slowly. The galaxy had just learned what Terran technology could really do. The question now was what humanity would do with this terrible power. 6 months after the Great War ended, Jake Morrison stood in Earth's first permanent space station, looking out at the transformed solar system. Through the massive windows, he could see the familiar outline of Terran warships patrolling the asteroid belt. Everything had changed. The delegation from the Vrelian Collective has arrived, announced Ambassador Rachel Lee, Earth's first official representative to the galaxy. They're asking for audience time to discuss trade agreements. Jake turned from the window. As fleet commander, he still maintained neural connection with the ancient ships, but his role had shifted. Now he balanced military command with diplomatic responsibility. How many does that make this week? He asked Rachel. 17 different species, she replied, consulting her digital pad. All wanting to establish relationships with Earth. The galaxy is very eager to be our friend now. Director Tom Wilson entered the room carrying reports from multiple star systems. Jake, we've confirmed the locations of 12 other hidden fleets, all showing signs of activation since our engagement. Prometheus Prime was right, Jake said through his neural link. The Terrans spread these protection systems across many worlds. The galaxy is essentially being reshaped, added General Paul Martinez, who coordinated the joint Earth-Alien forces. Every species that was oppressed by the Confederation is now asking for protection. Beth Thompson's image appeared on the communication screen. She now commanded Earth's exploration fleet, using Terran ships to map and explore beyond the solar system. Jake, you need to see what we found at the Andromeda relay point. The display changed to show a massive structure floating in space, clearly artificial and ancient. It was a gateway of some kind, with symbols matching those on the Terran ships. Prometheus Prime, what are we looking at? Jake asked. Galactic Transit Hub, Terran construction, connects to 47,000 similar facilities across known space. Network allows instant travel between galaxies. The room fell silent. Jake felt his understanding of their inherited power expand once again. So the Terrans didn't just leave us warships, Admiral Kate Sullivan said, joining the conference from Orbital Command. They left us the keys to travel anywhere in the universe instantly. And that's not all. Dr. Maya Patel added, appearing on screen from her research station. We've been studying the ship's AI systems. They contain complete databases of Terran knowledge, sciences, mathematics, philosophy, art. 50,000 years of advanced civilization preserved and waiting. Jake processed this information while watching another group of alien ships approach their space station. These were from the Thanic Empire, former enemies now seeking alliance. The power dynamics have completely reversed, observed Dr. Lisa Chen, who now served as humanity's cultural advisor for alien relations. Species that ruled the galaxy for millennia now ask us for permission to travel through their own territories. Some are handling it better than others, noted Colonel Steve Johnson, who monitored interstellar tensions. The Kazaroth hegemony is still organizing resistance, claiming we've upset the natural order. Jake accessed fleet status through his neural link. 1 million ships remained active, with production facilities on Earth now capable of constructing more using Terran technology. What's our policy on sharing this technology? He asked the gathered council. Ambassador Rachel Lee had clearly thought about this. Carefully, we're offering basic defensive systems to species that align with our values. But the reality warping, weapons stay under Earth control. And the Gateway Network? Jake inquired. Tom Wilson presented economic projections. We're gradually opening it to peaceful species. The trade possibilities are endless. Humanity went from isolated to the center of galactic civilization overnight. Speaking of galactic civilization, General Paul Martinez added, the old Confederation formally dissolved last week. They're asking us to help establish new governing structure. Jake felt the weight of responsibility. In 6 months, humanity had gone from discovering they weren't alone to becoming the most powerful force in known space. Incoming priority message, announced the station's AI. Deep space observatories report anomalous energy signatures from beyond known space. Beth Thompson appeared on screen again, excitement evident. Jake, we're receiving responses from outside our galaxy. The activation must have triggered beacons we haven't found yet. How many? Jake asked, though he suspected the answer would surprise him. Based on the signal patterns, potentially thousands. The Terrans may have seeded protection systems across multiple galaxies. Jake stood silent for a moment, absorbing the implications. Humanity had inherited not just the most powerful military force in their galaxy, but possibly in several galaxies. Sir, prompted Rachel, the waiting delegations are growing restless. How should we proceed? Jake looked around the room at his advisors, friends, and fellow humans who had helped navigate this transformation. Through his neural link, he felt the collective consciousness of the Terran fleet, patiently waiting for direction. We proceed carefully, he decided. We didn't ask for this power, but we have it now. Our job is to use it wisely. And if someone challenges us? Asked General Martinez. Jake thought about the reality warping weapons, the instant travel network, and the expanding sphere of human influence. Then we remind them why the Terrans built these ships in the first place. The meeting concluded with humanity's leadership dispersing to manage their new interstellar responsibilities. Jake remained at the window, watching ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through what was now Earth-controlled space. His neural link buzzed with a message from Prometheus Prime. Air Morrison, new quantum anomaly detected at coordinates beyond charted space. Configuration suggests artificial origin, possible contact with other Terran heirs. Jake smiled slightly. 6 months ago, he had been investigating strange readings in Earth's ocean. Now he was contemplating contact with other human civilizations that might exist beyond their galaxy. Prepare a scouting mission, he responded. But this time, we go as explorers, not warriors. The universe had become humanity's domain. But Jake knew their greatest adventures were just beginning. The Terrans had left them the tools to reshape reality itself. Now it was up to them to decide what to build with them. Outside the station, the first human-designed Terran ship, built using ancient knowledge but powered by human innovation, prepared for its maiden voyage to the stars. The galaxy had a new order, and humanity stood at its center, guardians of ancient power and architects of the future.